Well, hello everybody. I want to take a minute to thanks Incho Asida for the TikTok video on Jim Sinclair during Brian Mulroney, Progressive Conservative Party of Canada of the time. And what followed was Jean Chrétien. Now this is all about taking the conference there in the mid-'80s after Pierre Elliott Trudeau and the Aboriginal development, which, folks, Jean Chrétien was there like a dirty shirt all the way from the 60s. This video is going back to the past for Jim Sinclair, and this is for all First Peoples and all Canadians. This video is going to fill in blanks that poor Jim Sinclair, who was on to something but didn't get it all that day. And I'm going to tell all Canadians I am doing monumental work in the highest levels of the United Nations. And in fact, there are elected chiefs, some of the highest in Canada, who are now with me on this, and they're starting to see the validity of truth. And folks, Jim Sinclair in that day, Incho's video, and I hope I see you there, Incho. Please post the link in comments for everybody to look at the video, because I'm going to fill in blanks right now that poor Jim Sinclair and all the First Peoples forever in Canada didn't know then what I know now, what I've learned at the highest levels of the UN. Why Canada, I'm going to say it again, is banned forever and a day from ever taking a rotating seat on the United Nations Security Council. Never gonna ever get it. You could be Liberal, Green, NDP, Conservative, doesn't matter. We watched Harper's epic failure, Justin Trudeau's epic failure, and for folks who don't understand this, Canada was instrumental in developing the United Nations Security Council. We were forever a member of it, rotating every decade since World War II, and that ended, folks. That ended a number of decades ago, never to be relived again. And here, we're going to break it down for you. That meeting, going through Aboriginal, developed in 1982, and all the rights promised to not only the First Peoples in 1982's amendment, but to all Canadians, the subjects. First Peoples and Canadians, you are in the highest laws of the land in Canada. Subjects and savages. I didn't write this. This is forever and a day. 1867. Every amendment all the way through 1982. The Crown Power of Canada. That's how it is and is written and cemented in the highest laws of the land forever. And when they were caught, literally with their pants ripped down on the world stage, all the allies said, Canada is no good. This is wrong. And many countries went under dismemberment, forced by the allies. There's been 85, folks. 85 countries to go through it. Not Canada, not Australia and the Aborigines, and not New Zealand. Continues on today. These are the crown colonial jewels that have never been touched, never been dismembered, never been forced to change. Again, you can look at lots of my videos on residential school genocide. I did many, didn't even do all of them, but I did dozens and dozens. South Africa, just like Canada, designed off Canada. Those, the First Peoples, those South Africans, the First Peoples, the real Africans born there, finally got their justice. South Africa got dismembered, but not the Crown of Canada, as there was a Crown of South Africa. They got transformed into a republic. Brian Mulroney, poor Jim Sinclair in his great presentation, running off about the provinces. What he didn't know was the Executive Powers Act of all the provinces and their amendments throughout. It's not white supremacy. It's supremacy of the divine politician who can be any color of the rainbow, any culture. All they have to do is bend the knee to the crown, and they get the divine power. Call it divine socialism, call it divine capitalism. They get all the benefits of capitalism, all the benefits of socialism, where we get all the negatives. We, the subjects, the slaves. This is how it's written. All the savages, the first peoples, you're to be liquidated through genocide or assimilated into subjects yourselves. That's all there is and ever's going to be in Canada as the system's designed. Brian Mulrooney shit his pants on Jim Sinclair and what Jim Sinclair presented to the world. The United Nations took notice. Brian Mulrooney immediately post that conference quit the International Court of Justice, the binding court of the United Nations at the highest law of the United Nations, the Allies Court, nation to nation. Canada quit it. Brian Mulrooney quickly quit it and created a new criminal code where he said, Allies, look, you're right. What we've done is brutal. Look, we've taken your binding world laws, we made a criminal code outline genocide, outlawing it. But they also outlawed decolonization, a binding world law. Any savage Indian in Canada who topples a statue on Allies' land in Canada, just like Jim said, the First Peoples went to war for the Allies, for freedom, for human rights, for the first time in world history, cemented for the first time, but not in Canada. They just tried to put up a statue, a colonial celebrated statue on the P5's World War II land right here in Canada. It was done right in Hamilton, Ontario. Statue toppled. Did you know that crime comes with 10 years in prison? It's called decolonization. Made illegal in the Criminal Code of Canada. By who? Brian Mulrooney. Right after that monumental meeting and presentation by Jim Sinclair way back in the 80s. Brian Mulrooney did that. Rewrote the whole criminal code. Decolonization illegal. Massive years in prison. Massive destruction of your life if you pursue the world-binding human rights laws of the Allies of World War II. If you do that in Canada, you will go to prison for crimes deemed worse than raping a child. That's a slap on the wrist. Genocide, yeah, it's in the criminal code. You might get 6 months suspended sentence. Who are those laws written for? What are the sentencing and structures made within? It's to protect the crown. Because any subject who steps off the rails, you'll do serious time. And if you think you're going to upset the crown balance, federally and provincially, you're sadly mistaken. They will put you away for the rest of your life, just like they did in South Africa. It wasn't a crime to string up a little boy, 10 years old, because he drank out of a white fountain, slice open his testicular sac, and let him bleed out. That wasn't a real big deal in South Africa. And not very long ago, folks, we're talking the 80s. The 80s, the exact same time as this meeting for the First Peoples, and Jim Sinclair gave that presentation as they failed epically. And why? Because the crown never loses. All First Peoples, Canadians, the crown never loses. You're either a subject or worse, the savage people. That's all numbered treaties, reservation peoples in Canada. They will keep putting pressure. You will never get clean water. You will never have a healthy economy. You'll never be allowed to administer any governance of yourselves, not viably. without this firm hand of the crown. They'll keep you down until eventually you're genocided. Or you go out into society off reserve and become a good little subject like all the other subjects. Pay for their crimes. The criminal code protects them. Protects them. They can continue on raping children, the 60s scoop, residential school genocide, all the crimes of today. First people are the massive population in all Canadian prisons. That was done too. Sorry to disappoint everybody. People talk about common law and these other laws. Common law, common to all, and the precedent law of Canada. Justices must rule, as they always have, in case law prior to it. And for treaty Indians, reserve Indians, that doesn't bode well for you. Now, in the world, that's illegal. But in Canada's criminal code, it's perfectly fine. And if you think that the Liberals didn't build off Brian Mulroney and Brian Mulroney built off Justin Trudeau and on and on and on, all the way to 1952, and then in 1952 they stole the crown. 1956 they said, "Fuck you, America, and your we the people and the quality of the person. We're going to end the Jay Treaty. We're not in the UK anymore. It's our crown. We stole it fair and square. We will administer genocide. We will make sure no filthy fucking American Indian ever crosses the Canadian border and ever tries to help their fellow First Peoples, because they're all American Indians." Canada did that all on its own with its own crown. Nothing to do with the royal family, administered by the federal governments of the time. Liberal conservative. Kill the Indians, subjugate them or genocide them, because the savage must be liquidated. Just like the Jews of Germany, they were the savages to the subjects of Germany at the time, designed and built off the design of Canada. Canada won. South Africa, Japan, we can go on and on through all the former monarchies and all the monarchies still alive today, built off of 1867's most successful build, Canada. Canada. Jean Chrétien in 1993, shit was hitting the fan. Criminal code wasn't enough. All the amendments for the Allies wasn't enough. Jean Chrétien said, you know what? After what we just watched happen to South Africa, the Liberals, the Conservatives, the Labour, which is NDP, the three main parties, finito. The United Nations Security Council went in there, disbanded them all. You resist, you're going to the hog. That's what happened. People talk about Nuremberg Code. There's been many versions of Nuremberg, 85 of them since World War II. Yes, Germany was the first, right at the same time behind it. Japan was second, and on and on and on. They don't even name them. People know Nuremberg's famous, but more Japanese in the government of Japan and its monarchy went away and were sentenced to death than Germany. That's a fact. But everybody stops at Germany. We only look at Nazification, not crown colonialism. The divinity of human beings to rule over others. We went to World War II to fight the colonials and end the evil. Some colonials joined. Canada was one of them, but we never stopped there. We let Canada continue its evil reign of terror. And there's other countries. There's still other countries, and there's still countries with colonial assets. It's not finished, not by a long shot. We're far behind in the lineup. There's a lot ahead of us. There's gross countries right now with divine dictators in the same system. And again, designed off of Canada's system. Because Canada, there's nothing wrong with Canada. Folks, Jean Chrétien quit the International Court of Justice, 1993. Go read the ambassador's letter, posted for everybody, easy Google search. That was Jean Chrétien following up from Brian Mulroney. Oh, this is a mess for the Crown. We have to quit the ICJ. We're not going to do any real UN stuff. We're going to create our own called the International Commission of Jurists. Canada, what's that? Well, we make a logo that looks a lot like the International Court of Justice, but it's here in Canada. And we go hire Crown colonial justices all over the world, real dirty fucks, right, from rotten countries who love to kill and genocide at will, and they'll make rulings, because it would be really bad if we went to the real ICJ and entered into the real International Criminal Court. Our politicians could be sentenced to death for their horrific crimes. Fuck the Canadian Criminal Code, they would say. This is lunatic in 2023. It was lunatic in 2020. It was lunatic in 2000. It was lunatic in 1993. That's why Jean Chrétien quit the ICJ, International Court of Justice, the binding court in the UN Charter, the founding court of the UN. Can't have the Allies looking at Canada for what it is. These politicians were raping children, First Nations children. And it's not just them. There's been many genocides in Canada, but the worst one of the bunch is all the First Peoples of Canada. It comes with the death penalty. Can you imagine them dragging these old bastards by their hair out and transporting to the Hague until they either die or they rot or they get sentenced to death? That's what happens. That's what's happened to so many. People have no idea. But Canada remains free of that. They hide with the UK Crown, the royal family. We'll give you narrative over all our international laws. King Charles, we want to keep our crown, federally and provincially. We want the land all for us. We want all the resources for us. We want the subjects working for us, making us and our millionaire, billionaire friends rich. You too. Let us have it sponsor us as a P5 member. But Charles isn't allowed. The Prime Minister of UK must do it. So they backdoor it with Canada. Canada keeps going on, hoping forever that France and UK will always use their veto to protect Canada and these assets. We, the people, all the people, subjects and savages, must fight the power of this evil that is outlawed since World War II. It was the basis of World War II. Go read the fighters, the initiates of World War I and II. You will find they are all dictators, crown colonial dictators. World War I should be Colonial War I and Colonial War II. People run down the United States, they run down Russia. Oh, you weren't going to do anything, you only got in. They weren't crown colonial. Those were colonial countries fighting for assets that didn't belong to them. Did you know in World War I, do you know what the big reward was? To take 5 African nations from Germany, who colonized them, brutalized those first peoples, took their lands, genocided them, and then when they lost, they had to give it back to France so that they could brutalize, murder, rape them, and continue genocide. This went on all the way to World War II, but thankfully, God above, the Creator, USA and Russia came out powerful, non-colonials, and first time in massive history of human beings, countries who are not crown colonial, who had a we the people system, one communist, one basically a democratic republic, at least a democracy, maybe limited. People can hate it, but they had a power unto the people. And those two countries made the most monumental, groundbreaking changes the world has ever seen, really limiting the crown colonials. But Canada has always been that way, and they won't change. Their system is still there. highly illegal. It requires intervention by the P5, full-on revolution, or a political party to come to power to do it for the people. And it has to be done federally. Can't do it in individual provinces. There is a limited way, but it's not the end-all and be-all. It's very hard when they're so corrupted with the power of the crown. No accountability, no rules of governance, and know how to govern. Who wants to give that up? Who really wants to be accountable when you can fill your boots, fill your pockets, commit outrageous, world-renowned crimes, and there's no justice? Just walk away. Oh, well, they're just filthy fucking Indians who are dead. That's what they think. You're not human beings. They're just slave subjects. They will bow down to me. They will do what I tell them. I don't care how much they suffer. I don't care how much the Canadian people suffer. Tough shit. Jim Sinclair was wrong about white supremacy. Although a majority of the politicians are white, they're Caucasian. You don't have to be Caucasian to suck the life juice of the crown. All you have to do is bend a knee and become a divine first class. You can be black. You can even be red. You've got a whole bunch of First Peoples. No different than Canadians. You can be black. You can be any race from out the Commonwealth. Any race. Just bend the knee. Administer the crown's power. Become one with the crown. And you can shit all over the third-class subject slaves and all over the savage Indian peoples. We see it each and every day. I can go through all of it over and over. This video needs to be shared. People need to wake up and understand things. And I am blessed and happy, so many are, especially elected chiefs. They're seeing it for what it is. And we must bring these pasts to life, and we must talk about it, because there's massive monumental understandings and movements. We have to do it together. First Peoples and Canadians. There's a tremendous amount of wealth in just property alone. Never mind water is life. There's so much we can do as a people. So much we can do as a people together and separate as two different nations, how it was supposed to be. We can do that. If you don't believe me, United States of America, we can make a better model. A way better model. We can even settle the American Indian claims together and really strengthen the First Peoples. It's not only possible, it's the only way forward, truly, for all the people. The Crown is going to continue its reign of terror. You can elect Conservative, Liberal, NDP, Green. You could elect Bloc. It wouldn't matter. Maxime Bernier's People's Party of Canada. The Crown is the Crown. There's a whole autocratic side, a secret societal-based side. It's called customary law, closed chamber. You and I will never know what happens there. Some of it leaks out. We've made some breaking discoveries as we go through the evidence to prove just how many times. The media's talked about it very limitedly. But they're getting worse. They're getting more autocratic. The world of academia will tell you this, folks. I'm in it. I'm up to my eyeballs in it. And I'm blessed, I guess. It's hard. I know people want positive, but there's nothing positive about subjects and savages. And the quicker we can educate everybody, form a union together and get it done together, the better we're going to be. God bless. Thanks, everybody. Share, share, share. Bye now.